Good morning, everyone. It's great to see such a room full of data enthusiasts and people who are ready to hear more about all those great topics that Greg mentioned and that Snowflake has to offer. Now, in this conversation, we want to focus on the startup journey, and we have two entrepreneurs here, and we want to hear some of their lessons that they've learned along the way, and also what makes their solutions unique. So first, let me quickly introduce them. Right next to me, we have Or Lenchner. He's the CEO of Bright Data. And then we have Rotem Alaluf, who's the CEO of Wand.ai. And looking at this room full of data people, we have developers, analysts, and data scientists, data engineers, data leaders. And we have two entrepreneurs on stage. And I'd first love to have you give the audience a bit of an overview of what your organizations do and what you think makes your startup great. And we'll start with you, Or.
Thanks for inviting me, and hello everyone. Finally, I'm in a room with people that after this conversation in the break I can talk to and they actually understand what I have to say. It's all about data, and we have data in our name. I'm the CEO of Bright Data. And what we're practically doing is very simple. It's hard to achieve, but the promise is simple, and we're able to achieve that, is to allow all of our customers, some of them are here, we're talking about roughly 15,000 customers around the world, to collect web data. We're the leading web data platform in the world. We take that largest database in the history of humanity, which is the internet, and turn it from an unstructured piece of database or information and turn it into structured data that a machine can work with without having you, the customers, the need to overcome the different blockages that you can encounter when approaching the website to extract the public data, without all of the heavy lifting of that operation. 2021, last year, we've passed the $100 million in annual revenues with significant profits also, almost 500 employees. And aiming to be as big as Snowflake. They had an earlier start, so we're still not there, but definitely gonna get there. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for being here. And what about you, Rotem? Can you describe a bit what Wand.ai is all about?
Sure. So thanks for having us here. So we are also newer from Bright Data. So Wand's mission at the end is to make data and AI the engine that drives the new business world. If we are looking at what our goal is to scale the ability to create AI solutions and AI value from hundreds of thousands of AI technical users at the end to hundreds of millions of users. So any developer, any business analyst, any data analyst, any product manager, any business user at the end want to bring him the ability to create AI applications and solutions and create value very quickly. So if we're looking at the industry today, so in spite the progress that we're seeing and the buzz that there was and still here with AI, still the process of creating AI value and AI solutions is very frustrating, very difficult, and a very long one. And also I think that in similar way that what Snowflake saw in the data world from 10 years ago, we're seeing today in the AI part, in the AI infrastructure part. So our goal, as I said, is to change it and to enable everyone to do that very quickly, very intuitively. And that's our goal. And we believe that in 2022, almost 2023 right now, the process of creating solutions shouldn't be that complicated, shouldn't be that complex.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a big fan of simplicity myself. So I think anything that brings us closer to the technology and actually delivering value, and we've heard that earlier as well, right? We want to focus on innovation, not on plugging all the bits together constantly. So that is great. And I'm actually going to stay with you. One of your former team members describes you as a natural leader and entrepreneur, and I'd love to hear what are some of those natural characteristics you'd say that people need to learn to become entrepreneurs?
Yes, I think first of all there is no one type of an entrepreneur, so the best I can do is to share what entrepreneur means to me and how I look at entrepreneurship in general. So I think that first of all, one of the most important things is passion for what you do and a real willingness and even a self-mission to change something and how it works and to create a better world after that. So this is a first thing for me that entrepreneurs needs to have towards some specific problem or specific goal they have. The second thing is to take risks and to do things differently. Eventually, the crazily ambitious ideas along the history are the ones that created the most value and actually change our lives the most. Another thing that is very important for entrepreneurs is never give up at the end. If you're trying to do things that are big, usually it's a long and a challenging journey. Take every failure as a potential to learn and a potential to improve, and not as something that takes you down. And this is, I think, something that is crucial for entrepreneurs. It helps a lot when you have huge passion for what you're trying to achieve, helps a lot. And the last thing is to put it in the top of your priority list at the end. To do this thing requires a lot of effort and sacrifice also from other places. And to do big things requires to put it very high in your priority list. So this is, I think, some of the things that I'm looking at when I'm looking at entrepreneurs. And for me, entrepreneur is less of a title and more of a characteristic and something that you're trying to create. And characteristics for that can change, as I said, if you have a lot of passion for something. So I can see entrepreneurs that in the title, maybe they are entrepreneurs, but they are not very entrepreneurial. And you can see people that are not entrepreneurs in title that are very entrepreneurial and want to change things. So
I really like the list you shared, because I think those are all skills and characteristics that people can build naturally, even as employees or as builders and developers along the way. So hopefully the step to becoming an entrepreneur is then not such a big leap. Or what was the starting point for you and your company? What pain did you recognize that you wanted to address with Bright Data?
Yeah, it always started, I think, with a personal pain in a way. We wanted to get web data because we wanted to build cool stuff. This is why we're here. This is what's all about, building cool stuff. And in many places in the path of the company, and it's true for many companies, you need data to do that. Not always web data, that's our place. So this is what we care about, but it's not just that. And we had that initial infrastructure that we've built in the company to try and overcome that. We wanted large-scale web data. We wanted now. We wanted it qualified and structured. We built it for ourselves, and we did a good job. And after that, when we had that pretty massive infrastructure that was already in production running, talking roughly 2014, we started to get approaches from other companies saying, hey, that's cool. Maybe we can use that also. And the next question should be, okay, are you willing to pay for that? And when the other side said yes, you understand that this is real. It's not just for you. It can bring a lot of value also to others. And this is how we started. Since then, we shifted focus completely to be obsessed about products that collect publicly available web data, became the #1 company in the world that does that. But more interestingly, I think, is the fact that we are always keeping that very broad spectrum of products So here in this room, I guess that most of you would like to use our IDE. You can code your way into getting the web data that you need with full control, full flexibility. Most of the people in this room would love that, I think. Instead, being that other type of buyer that can just get an Excel sheet with all of the data that you're looking for. No flexibility at all, but you still get the data. So I think that the bottom line was not to think that we know where we should be going, but to always wake up every morning, making sure that we're still solving that problem that we promised to solve. And if the answer is no, that we need to kill what we're working on and refocus our efforts. That's what helps us also to move very fast and to innovate. And we have like over 3,000 granted patent claims in the US, not because we're thinking about what we need to innovate now, just because we're focused on solving the problem for ourselves first, and we finding creative ways to do that.
Yeah, I really like that. And making sure you keep that as you grow, that startup mentality of let's look at what we're doing, are we still doing the right thing, and if not, let's pause and actually fix what we're doing to get us back on the path that we were on. Rotem, you've spent over a decade working with complex AI systems. What do you see being some of the core opportunities around AI? So where's the biggest financial value for organizations, and what are the actions you need to take to unlock that?
Sure. So usually I like to work on big potential problems. So this is one of the things that we are working on. So for us, the ability to scale AI to every users that is non-AI technical users, and the ability to create applications and solutions in AI very quickly, very intuitively, and to bring it to the business world. This is like the biggest opportunity that we have today in the field of AI. And this opportunity, if we're looking at it, requires, from one hand, infrastructural shift, and from the other hand, also a mindset shift in organization, that everyone can build AI applications, AI solutions. If it's a developer or it's an AI person, both of them can do it, and they need to share this effort in order to scale AI in organizations. So if I'm looking at four main things that we need to do, so I think first of them is automating the whole AI pipeline today, and to create actually a system that are able to do that. So if we're looking at the AI pipeline today, it's starting from the data part, the data quality assessment, the data quality assurance, enhancement, bias detection, mitigation of that, and a lot of different phases there. And then it's continuing to the AI model building and training and stress testing and deployment part. And then we are moving to the operation part, which is explainability and confidence and retraining and consumptions of feedback from users, and then how we are consuming the results of those solutions. So all this process is a very long one that today is actually done by multiple people in a similar way to Snowflake with data part, that it's a very, very difficult to build all those components together in the AI part. And our goal and the way that we believe that it should look like is that a single user can work and build this whole pipeline by himself, and it shouldn't be an AI technical user. And this is actually requires extensive automation in the process, which was very difficult to do several years ago. But today, with some of the advancements that happens in the field of AI, we're able to automate this whole process in a very high quality, high accuracy, high sustainability way. And this is the first thing that we need to do. The second thing is simplification of the AI language from the builder side of the technology part to every user at the end. So we want to use less the AI language and the very technical AI language, and use more language that speaks about value creation, speaks about how we can consume those results. And this actually will enable more users to use the technology and to create solutions by themselves. The third thing that is very, very important is the part of centralization. So today, we are seeing a lot of distributed systems are working in AI in organizations. But in order to scale AI, really scale it in organizations, we need to have one infrastructure across departments, across use cases, across roles, across phases of the development, from the training part, the staging part, to the production part. And this actually can enable scale, but not only scale. If we're looking at a centralization piece, without it, it's very difficult to share data, to share insights, to share, like to meet regulation, to do a lot of those things. It's become very, very difficult things without centralizing the infrastructure. And I think that as any analytics and the AI part is starting with the data, so Snowflake in that part helps a lot in taking a lot of the data part, in data collaboration, access to data, the monitoring part, and enables us also to build the analytic parts and to create this shared infrastructure flow in a much easier way. The last thing is connectivity. We want to be able to connect data from any source, and also here Snowflake helps a lot in that part, and to share it back to the output, the ability to consume that to any application after that. So those are the four main things I believe that we need to do in order to scale AI to more users, to non-technical users. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And I like that you made that point again, that we want to make things easier by using technology that removes a lot of the manual efforts, the things that take away from the value creation of the very smart people in your organization, but also that we have in the room here. Or you've been with Bright Data for about 6 years. Can you describe what it's like being part of a startup that grows quickly, and maybe what some of the technical skills were that you had to pick up along the way?
Yeah, I actually started as a product manager, actually as a junior product manager, but also the only one, I guess, because it was, I don't know, a 20 people company back in 2015. As I said earlier, doing something else. So my personal journey was interesting, I think, because I grew with the company and constantly taking more responsibility. I became the VP product as we grew. Then more departments and areas of business, support, and things like that should have been established. So I took over that in a way, became the COO. We sold the company actually in late 2017 to a private equity firm from the UK. And a year after that, I became the CEO. Every day that the company is bigger and doing more things, so every day it's a new company. I think it's true for every company, for every startup. Actually, maybe also for Snowflake, it's bigger every day, more employees, more revenues, more challenges, more crises to manage, and more success to celebrate. So that's always true, and I personally was never a CEO of a bigger company than that. So every day it's a completely new company to work on and work with, which requires new skill set. I think that it doesn't matters that much what I need to learn, and it's true for any employee in the company. Yeah, everyone involved, not just me. I think that what makes it just increase the chances to succeed is it's a very basic thing, and I think actually, sitting here in Israel, I think that we're pretty good at that, is just to get quick decisions all the time, all day, every second, and doing a bunch of mistakes, but it's okay, because if you can get quick decisions, it means that you can get that decision again tomorrow and fix the previous day. Actually, I thought about it, and it's funny. I see it in my older kid. He's almost 6, and he gets decision really, really fast. And that's when I realized that I think that, you know, this is how I grew up as a person, and he got that. You know, he comes with a question, you know, can I see TV? Yes, no, or maybe later. So, you know, he helps me to get a fast decision, and this is how we kind of operate in the company. And then the rest is easier. You know, if you need to decide that you need to start working with Snowflake, and I see Ran sitting here in the front seat. He told us that we need to do that, working at Snowflake, and you know, prior to that, working at one of the companies of Bright Data. We sat, we learned, we realized that we need to get that decision. We got that decision pretty fast, and it changed a bunch of things. And this is what we're doing in business technology, you know, support, customer success, every department of the company. And I try to work this way, you know, myself.
Yeah, I like that. I'm a fan of big, fast decisions as well. I think otherwise you can waste so much time along the way, and just it feels like a lot of missed opportunity. I have a question for both of you. What do you see are the biggest trends when we look at specifically developments in data that are impacting startups, but also the ecosystems that you operate in? And we'll start with you, Rotem.
Yeah, so for us and for me, it's still this transition to a centralized data source at the end, something that Snowflake is working on, but is a transition that happens and started like more than 10 years ago. It's still the biggest thing that actually we need to complete, and we still have a way to go that organizations will centralize the data to enable simplified data sharing, data control, permission, things like that. Because for us, after that, as a pure AI analytics company, the ability to scale value and value creation in organization is actually depends in their ability to share data at the end. So this is still, although it's an old one, so I'm not innovating here or saying something very new. I think that it's something that everyone says in the last 10 years. This is still like the biggest things that can, opportunity and things that can help us as a company in the data field.
Yeah, what about you, Or?
Yeah, I would always prefer to talk about an interesting technical trend, but unfortunately, that's I see those, but that's not the major trend I'm seeing. I'm seeing a negative trend when it comes to data accessibility, specifically talking about web data, which is our field. There's currently, I would even call it a fight going on between the giants that holds lots of the public, and I'll stress that again, public data, for example, prices of products, and try to block companies that want to build things from accessing this data. So, you know, as an individual, if you want to pay money and buy a product, you're always welcome. But if you want to collect that public data to build something that can actually help humanity, and you need to do that in large scale with automation, then they will do whatever they can to block you. Okay, and that's a growing trend. It's not something that you always had, and you need to just work it out and, you know, allocate some resources to figure it out. That's a growing trend, and it's not a good one. If, you know, no one can justify preventing someone from accessing public information. This is how the world and humanity evolve over time. You know, knowledge is power. You gain more knowledge, you can build things that can help each and every one of us. But unfortunately, the trend is an opposite one. So I wanted to be, I'm optimistic, but this is what I'm currently seeing, and it's not a good trend.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's something we see beyond the for-profit sector, especially non-profits who have even fewer resources to access data, but who often have a very humanitarian cause and want to help and change things, struggle the most with limited human resources, but also technical and financial resources.
Can I react on that?
Yes, please.
We saw that, exactly that. We launched 2.5 years ago, like a sister organization at Bright Data under the name of the Bright Initiative, which we give our tools for free. Already over 600 partners that are using that. And that's exactly the point. They are more important than us. You know, we're a business. Everyone here is, are doing things because they have the passion and they actually want to solve a problem, but it's also a business, and that's fine. But those who are doing that not for profit, they also, those that doesn't have the resources. So under the Bright Initiative, for example, we service 87, I think now, out of the top 100 universities in the world for research purposes. They don't have budgets to research, but all of the data is on the web. They just need to be able to extract it. We help them. We help NGOs that are fighting human trafficking. You will be amazed by what you can find in the public web. It's terrible, actually. But they don't have the tools to extract this data, and they need to be on that constant fight with the platforms that are trying to stop them from accessing data, even though it's public. So, yeah, one of the ways to solve that issue is also, us, when we have the technology, we have the power, we have the resources, also to make sure that we have those plans to give back if and when we can.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's a topic we could have a whole nother discussion about quite easily. But I need to bring this one to a close, and I want to close with a bit of a cheeky question. So I know that startups, they're always growing, they're always hiring. What kind of people and skills are you looking for? Who should apply when you look at this room full of potential?
Yes, so I'll start. This is a tricky one also from us, because if we are forgetting someone, so it's a problematic thing. So people, first of all, for us, we want people that actually want to disrupt the ability to use AI and to scale AI to the business world. People that likes challenges, people, as Or mentioned, like to take fast decisions. It's okay to do mistakes and to run and to fix them and to improve all the time. We are currently hiring machine learning engineers, machine learning researchers, DevOps, SREs, QA, software engineer, backend, front-end, product. So almost any position that you can think of. So we are hiring right now. And if it's something that excites you to do that, it's very, very interesting to work at Wand today. We are doing things quickly, and we are seeing already thousands of users that are using our platform. We are a pretty young organization. We've started this year, but we are seeing a very interesting adoption. And you have time now.
Thanks. First thing, you need to have the passion for data accessibility. If you really care about data and want to join the effort to make it public, if it's public, it should be really public. This is what we're doing. So you're welcome. And as for the type of people that we're looking for, we actually sat and wrote it down in an extremely detailed way. And it's public, so you can visit brightdata.com/DNA. That's a very long document that specifies our unique company DNA, and it's not for everyone, but if it's for you, then yeah, definitely we're recruiting.
Excellent, thank you. And thanks to both of you for sharing your stories and insights and advice and a bit about life in a startup and as a CEO. I want to invite everyone to connect with our panelists throughout the day. And next up, you'll be delighted to hear, we'll have a break. There's time to grab some snacks out in the expo hall and make sure to talk to each other, but also meet our partners and our Snowflake colleagues. And thank you for being a great audience. Please put your hands together for Or Lenchner and Rotem Alaluf. Thank you.